Wholesale weekly update number 19. We're 19 weeks into this thing. Let's talk about some deals that are in the pipeline right this second. None of these are under contract. Contracts have been sent. They've been agreed upon that they were going to sign, but I essentially got ghosted on some of these. So another lesson where you need to make sure that you get the contract signed while still on the phone. But I have a deal in Georgia that I think that one actually is a deal if I can get them to agree upon it. There's another one in West Virginia. This one was called upon on the Joey Dirte Coliseum closer match thing that we had going on. It's one of my leads that I ended up calling from property leads, but that was a close that happened there. That one's been a nightmare. I'll talk about that in a second. There's one in Texas with a dude named Miles. I don't think that one's a deal, but I was transparent about wholesaling it and what my actions and intentions were with it, and he kind of agreed upon it. Then the other one is in Missouri. This is one that I've been following up for a while now, and I'm not positive that it's a deal. I think if circumstances kind of arise within it, then it's possibly a deal if these things line up. Then there's one other that I've been working probably almost 3 months now. This one's in Arizona. Super good rapport with this dude. He's got two other siblings that are kind of on par with the decision making within it. I know exactly what he wants to do. He wants to sell it to me and go, but there's one brother that's kind of like arguing and fighting against it. So I'm just going to constantly keep following up with that one. So let's go down the list of those. The Georgia one, a sweet old little lady. They're moving to go get closer to family. And basically they have this rental property that they kind of want to get rid of. They need to get rid of it because that's going to be the down payment of their house wherever they're moving to. So we agreed upon a price. We were within the web whenever I got to the close. And essentially what I did at that point was I dropped it down just a little bit. She wanted 120. I think 120 would have worked. I got it down to 115. And then after that, I hadn't heard anything. Last night, actually, she contacted me after I pushed her for a very, very long time, kept calling, kept texting, nothing. I thought that deal was done. I took a message from Audrey. Audrey said, listen, there's one line that seems to always work with texts. And it's basically, hey, are we done here? And I shot that line over to her, and she actually sent me what the situation was and what was going on. Basically, her brother, there were some health issues. They were dealing with the hospital within that. She said she will get back with me on Monday. Now, the way that she said it doesn't sound like, hey, we're good to close. It sounds like, hey, we need to have a conversation because I don't know if I want to move forward given X, Y, and Z circumstances. So honestly, if she comes up to where she wants to do the 121, I think I'm just going to be transparent with her and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Let's try to work it at the 120. I think it's possible to move it at this, but set the expectation that we might need to do something different. The next one in West Virginia with Bruce, holy cow, this thing has been just annoying. It's been kind of a nightmare. This guy's kind of crazy in my mind. Lots of just texting back and forth. I've tried to get him on the phone over and over again. I basically kind of did the same thing and said, hey, listen, are we done? Are we going to do this? Or are we not? We said we were going to do this. Now you're saying to do this. What are we doing? I don't understand. Basically we had an agreement at a $25,000. It was 2 lots, a barn, and a house in West Virginia close to the ski slope. So it felt like it was a deal almost no matter what. Kind of like it was too good to be true, like a laydown situation. And the call on this one was even crazier. It was just like he liked that my name sounded Italian. And so he built rapport off of that, was willing to do it for there. He's been saying things that don't necessarily line up with how real estate transactions work, and objections and things that he's been having kind of towards closing costs and dealing with an incorporation. None of this stuff was lining up. I wasn't really understanding his arguments that he was having. From the last thing we said, he's going to a funeral for his brother in Atlanta. And so that was supposed to be happening over these last couple of days. We amended a contract that I had sent to him because I only had one of the lots on there. I adjusted the lots, and then basically, I don't know, we'll see what happens from there. He said he's going to sign it. I'm pretty sure he will sign it. It sounds like it, but this is a weird situation. I do think it's a deal, though. The other one is in Texas. This is with a guy named Miles. He is a talker. He's one of those guys that's like, he's the smartest person in the world. He dibble dabbles in just about everything when it comes to AI, and he's done a lot of contracts with the government. I don't know. I don't know the situation. I don't know how smart or all the things he's done. I don't really care. Basically, he was listed too high on the MLS. He was there for years almost, it seemed like, or at least a year and a half, and it didn't move at a certain price. I think it was like 475. He swears up and down it's worth 500 something thousand. I got him to basically agree to being close to the 375,000 mark and say, hey, look, I'll try to move it at this. I don't think that this is the price. I think we actually need to be lower. But the whole point of this is I'm going to try to wholesale it. I'll do an assignment of contract, and this is how the process will work. Send the contract. He said he was going to look over it with his wife. Called him back. Eventually, he said, hey, I like your contract. I think it's good. And, did his little pompous, I've seen a lot of contracts in my life, and I've seen other Wazoo's contracts and blah, 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 but yours was good. And like a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, I've looked up your company and you have some bad reviews, but I expect other people to have bad reviews. I wouldn't trust you if you didn't have bad reviews, but it's like, I don't have reviews anywhere. So I just didn't understand the thing, but it's like, okay, cool. That's great. That's awesome. What are we doing? Are we moving forward? He says, I still have to talk to my wife. Got back 2 days ago. And basically from that conversation, he said, wife wants to be at 425 or something of that nature. It's not moving at that. Like, it's just not going to move at that. So we'll see what happens with that one. I don't think it's a deal at the 375, but I was willing to take a shot at it and move it there. The next one is the Missouri one. This was a super interesting conversation one. So I got this as a property leads, came in probably 2 months ago, called it. I thought I butchered the call. I thought I needed to be close to 5 to 10,000. It's a tear down situation. She said the property is condemned. It's unlivable. It's deemed unlivable by the city. She says the city hates her. She's working a job where she has a place to stay, but her husband and her son, they're living in their truck. So it's like she needs to sell this house so she could potentially rent somewhere, get somewhere so they can get back on their feet. And so I thought this needed to move around $5,000 to $10,000 just based off the land value. So tear down the property. Here's the land. Let's just move it for the land. Lo and behold, she hated that number when I first gave it to her a couple months ago. I had Ken Smoot call her as like a hero call because I thought I butchered the call. Ken kind of said the same thing, came up to 15,000. She didn't want to move it that either. And so I said, hey, let me try to call her again. I talked about her situation. I got a little bit more information. I said, hey, listen, I think that there's a possibility. I'm going to try to wholesale this. Let's lock it up at the 20. Let's see if I can move it low. If worst case scenario that happens is I'm going to waste 2 weeks of your time. Best case scenario, we find somebody, we can move it at the 20,000. I said, all I can do is get you that feedback. And if the feedback comes in that it needs to be lower, then at the end of the day, you could tell me to kick rocks and you're just back to right where you're at right now. So she liked that idea. She said, well, I got to talk to her. She had to talk to her husband. That was fine. She seemed like she was on board. I actually started looking at some comps in the area. It's zoned commercial, which is weird. She's saying it's zoned commercial, but I had Cassie look at this and it's actually seems like it's zoned residential. So like, I have no idea what's going on. I believe that if it's zoned residential, there's a possibility to move this closer to that 20,000, 15,000 mark because I see a developer in the area. I got his number right now, could call him. You could see some of his projects that are on Facebook right there in the Eldon area. And I think that's the buyer. Like, I think that's the person that would probably buy this land and then reconstruct something on it. So got a text 2 nights ago from her basically saying her husband has something else found out. And I kind of pressed into that a little bit and said, like, is there something wrong with the contract that you're not liking, that you're concerned of? Is there something that I'm not giving you? Or is there something that you actually guys have found out? Like, do you have a solution that you're doing? And basically all I did was keep the rapport and said, listen, if something happens with that, keep me in your back pocket. I'm ready to go. I'm willing to do this. I want to get you situated so you can kind of continue your life. So that is what it is. Again, I don't think that one's a deal. The one that I think is the biggest deal is the Georgia one. So I want to do everything that I can to kind of save that one. Going into some other things that happened this week. So I've been watching a lot of Jeremy Miner's videos with the NEPQ. So RJ Bates' King Closer formula is like a super skeleton. It goes from here to here to here to here. In the third part of it, where we're, tell me about a little bit about what you got going on, we're actually having the conversation. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's missed in there of how to navigate the conversation, to pull the motivation out, to dig deeper, to get to the layers, to uncover the story. He's got his, surface level, significant purpose and story. Those are his 4 levels of pain. That's with RJ. I just have been exploring with the Jeremy Miner stuff to integrate that into this part of the conversation until I get into the other steps of the King Closers formula. And it's been kind of mind opening. Like it's really beneficial. It's helping me understand the questions, the verbal cues, the pauses, the way that, you can just carry on the conversation so it doesn't feel like it's an interrogation. It feels like it's naturally flowing to understand the situation. I've been putting that into application over these last couple of days on my phone calls, and the phone calls just feel a lot different. I'm not going to lie. Like I think it's getting really beneficial. I think that I'm getting better on the phones, not specifically because of that, mainly because of reps, but that is also helping me back off a little bit and just understand the situation more. So gonna keep implementing that. I think that's a beneficial thing to my repertoire of education. Let's go into leads. So leads this week, I basically have turned those off. I have Facebook going right now. It's not going so hot. I only wanted to be in a handful of states, but I'm getting it from still feels somewhat nationwide. From the ones that I can get on the phone, all of them have been listed. So they just they've not been good leads that's been going through. I'm going to give it some time though, let it build, let it grow. Cause I understand it's something that takes a little bit of time to fine tune, but right now I'm not super excited about it. I need something to change within that pretty quickly to continue that. Going past that, I've been working a lot of Danny Force's Ohio leads. I've been kind of just ripping through those. He gave me about 80 of them. That's kind of actually clogging up my CRM right now. So my CRM looks like a hot mess because I just threw in a bunch of these leads. I know for a fact that it feels so much better when I have property leads turned on and a property lead comes in and I feel almost 90% confident that that person is going to pick up and I'm going to have a conversation about potentially buying their house. It's just a completely different feeling. So a little bit of defeated this week on some of the conversations. Definitely have gotten some people on the phone. Definitely have used those skills and trainings with the conversation stuff to have decent conversations, but the quality of conversations definitely diminished this week. What else we got? I also bought some iSpeed to lead. Those were trash. There was nothing that was good from there. All these people that are closing from iSpeed to lead, I don't see it. Every time I buy from iSpeed to lead, I get a little bit disappointed. Maybe that'll change one day and I'll get something out of it, but we'll see. Red Panda, another lead provider, they were on implementation call this week on Wednesday, and that was with Nick Kurtz. And I think I'm going to put some money into Red Panda because one factor about Red Panda that's separate from property leads is it seems like they are tailored and they are marketing directly more to a wholesale flip kind of seller as opposed to where property leads is just going to any seller that is interested in raising their hand. Property leads might be marketing for agents, where Red Panda, it sounds like they're only marketing to distressed homeowners. So I think I'm going to try out Red Panda. Their leads are more expensive, but again, it sounds like potentially it's a more qualified lead in the fact that it might be a distressed seller that's willing to sell at a discount, which is the thing that we need the most inside of this business. Other than that, it was a good week. Happy 4th of July, everybody. And we're going to hit this week strong. This week is going to be, my wife has some things planned for us towards the end of the week. So it's getting to the tail end of the summertime and we only have so much time to spend left together before she goes back to school. So first 3 days of this week are going to be hitting it very, very, very aggressively hard. Trying to pound out some dials and probably turn on some new lead sources or turn on some old lead sources. End of this week, we'll kind of slow down a little bit, but we'll still try to get a couple of things done. Goal is to get these contracts that are on this board signed, or wipe them out so I can move on to the next ones and get some more things on here signed so we can start to work to get some closed and funded. Week 19. So still nothing closed and funded yet. Not worried about that. I know that it's coming very, very, very shortly. And then once it starts, it's just going to keep going and going and going and going until we're rocking this thing out. So remember, stay happy, hungry, and humble, and I'll see you next week.